Good morning and welcome to another episode of Science Radio. In this segment, we chat with an eminent scientist based out of Pune.
So I was attending the lectures of Stephen Hawking to some of the very infamous scientists, infamous artists, to, of course, my own research in Cambridge. It was a fantastic experience, a lifetime experience.
This is Science Radio on Vidyavani 107.4.
Hi, this is Krishna for Science Radio. Today, we chat with Professor L.S. Shashidhara, an eminent biologist based at the Indian Institute of Science Education and Research, Pune. Professor Shashidhara completed his BSc and MSc in biology from the University of Agricultural Sciences, Dharwad. He received his PhD from the University of Cambridge in 1991, where he continued as a postdoctoral fellow. He returned to India in 1993 and spent 2 years at the National Centre for Biological Studies, Bangalore, as a visiting fellow. He joined the Centre for Cellular and Molecular Biology, Hyderabad, in 1995, where he worked as scientist and group leader. In 2007, he took a professorship at the Indian Institute of Science Education and Research, Pune, where he is the coordinator for the biology department. Professor Shashidhara has been distinguished with several awards and honors for his work in the field of genetics and developmental biology, including the prestigious Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award in Biological Sciences. Besides, he is a fellow of the Indian National Science Academy, Indian Academy of Sciences, and the National Academy of Sciences. We caught up with Professor Shashidhara in his office at Sai Trinity. Hello sir, and welcome to Science Radio.
Hello.
At a time when engineering was the craze, what inspired you to take up research in basic sciences?
Well, it's both out of interest as well as coincidence of variety of factors. First time I did get admission to engineering college, and I was supposed to go to Bhopal in regional engineering college at that time. Now it's called National Institute of Technology. Meanwhile, I joined an agriculture college nearby in Dharwad. The engineering college was supposed to start 2 months later. So meanwhile, I had already had the admission, so I started attending the college. Then when I started learning some basic science, so I was hooked on to that one. So I decided not to go to engineering college. So in a way, if I had not started my early agriculture college classes, maybe I would not have pursued basic science. Maybe I would have ended up in engineering college.
You completed your doctoral and postdoctoral research in one of the world's most acclaimed universities, the University of Cambridge. How did that impact your research?
Very much. I mean, the whole ambience, it's so much on education, so much to learn science, so much to learn variety of things in life, whether literature, music, drama, classical art, as well as the modern art, plus the best of science is there in Cambridge. So it is the place to be around, and it influenced me a lot. So I was attending the lectures of Stephen Hawking to some of the very infamous scientists, infamous artists, to, of course, my own research in Cambridge. It was a fantastic experience, a lifetime experience.
What made you return to India then?
Well, I never thought of staying back. The day I went to UK, I knew I'm going to come back after a few years, whether after PhD or after postdoc, because the time when I did my PhD, postdoc was not such a norm. So not everybody would do postdoc. Sometimes it was easy to get a job immediately after a PhD. So happened that I wanted to shift my field, so that's why I did a postdoc and then I came back.
A lot of your research is in the field of fly genetics and the evolutionary developmental biology. What was your inspiration to enter this field?
Well, my early education in Agriculture College, Dharwad, where I had two teachers. One is Professor J.V. Gaud, who taught us genetics, and Professor Chen Bairegoda, who taught us evolution. Both of them are fantastic teachers, and they were going out of the curriculum, out of the syllabus to teach this. We used to attend some special lectures of these two teachers. Although I was supposed to be a student of plant breeding and genetics, these two people taught a lot of Drosophila genetics, just to make us understand the basic genetics. They also taught us evolution to make us understand how the plant breeding will impact agriculture. I was so much hooked on to Drosophila genetics since then. I started reading more and more about fly genetics, and that was a time when there was an explosion of work on developmental biology using Drosophila as a model. So it was sort of a natural path for me to enter into Drosophila genetics and then to developmental biology. So since then I have been working on developmental biology using Drosophila as a model.
Could you tell us something about the current research in your lab and its future prospects?
So in short, my interest is developmental biology. In developmental biology, the basic question all of us ask is how from a single celled embryo, the whole organism develops. For example, all of us are made up of close to about 100 trillion cells, but we all start as one cell. You have to generate so many number of cells. They have to be organized in a particular way, in a particular pattern, and various different organs and tissues are well connected so that a whole organism will be one functional unit. So it is a very complex process that goes on every time an organism is born. The sub-question I'm interested in is understanding how various different organs are positioned along the body axis. As the cells divide, they take up different identities. We are particularly interested in Drosophila. How do wings get positioned in the place where you see wings? And there is another pair of organs which are required for balancing as well as steering during flight. We call them as halters. How those halters and these wings get positioned in a particular specific position along the body, and how it happens every time when the insect is born. In addition, when we talk about organ development, we also talk about growth control. For example, the two arms, although they are not connected to each other, they develop exactly to the same length. That's because there is a precise growth control which makes each arm to develop only to a certain extent, and this growth control is already programmed in the embryo itself. So understanding of the precise growth control will help us understanding cancer.
Your work on insect model systems like the fruit fly Drosophila, the silk moth Bombyx, and the honeybee Apis, why the fascination with these insects in particular? Could you tell us about these models?
Sure. As I told you, I'm interested in understanding how flight organs are positioned on the body axis. Each insects come with their own set of flight organs. Moths and butterflies have 4 wings. Drosophila, mosquito, houseflies, they only have 1 pair of wings. The other pair, somewhere during evolution, these wings are modified into balancing organs. In beetles, the small beetles which we normally see like ladybird beetles, they have again only 1 pair of wings. The other pair has become more like a protective organ. So beetles are very thick protective organ on the body. Because my question is in the development of the flight organ. So naturally I started thinking about why different insects have different number of flight organs. So that's when I started looking at different insects. So I chose Apis, that is honeybee, Bombyx, which is the silk moth, and Tribolium, which is the rice beetle. These are the ones which whole genome is completely sequenced. The kind of work I do is important for the genome to be sequenced.
This is Science Radio on Vidyavani 107.4.
You have published more than 25 high-impact papers in your field. Your work has inspired a lot of research in the field of developmental biology. What would you say is your favorite publication?
Well, it's always difficult to say which one is my favorite. My first paper is always most favorite one because that's my first baby. That I published in 1999 in developmental biology. Another one is 2001 I published a paper in Oncogene. It's a cancer research journal. It's the first Drosophila genetics paper in a cancer research journal because the kind of work that I did had a high immediate impact on understanding cancer. This paper also gave me an award. I received a CSR Technology Award for developing Drosophila as a model system to do drug screening. Later on, I published 2 papers which are really my favorite. One is in a journal, my favorite journal called Development, which is really the journal in our field. That is in 2004, related to understanding the development of wings in Drosophila. And the second one is understanding the brain development in Drosophila that we published in Nature Cell Biology in 2005.
How has your experience been while working in several institutes in India over the past couple of decades? How do you think science has progressed in India?
Like in all spheres of life, we have done very well in science too. 2 reasons. One is there is more funding for science. The second is we have also almost quadrupled the number of scientists in this country. Science in a small community will not work. Science is a social endeavor. It has to be done collectively. Everybody incrementally contribute to the progress of the science. So in that context, India has done well in the last 20 years, but there's a lot to do. It still is not really a knowledge capital in any sense. As long as we continuously fund the way government is funding research in India now, we may take another 15-20 years. The important thing that we need to do is to make sure that there is sufficient amount of importance given to the basic science. And then hopefully in another 10 or 15 years later, we'll be able to solve some of the fundamental societal problems using the science.
You were one of the first to join IISER at its inception. What had you envisioned for the IISER biology department? Are we nearing the goals?
I was happy in a research lab, doing my own research, had some 5 or 6 PhD students any given time in my lab. and attending conferences and doing some interesting work in my area. But I was always interested in education because whatever I tried to do in the lab, I thought undergraduates should know this even before they actually think of doing research. Even if they don't do research in their life, it's better to know how research is done. Because doing research, you basically understand how to solve problems. If you know how to solve problems in a lab, similar kind of methods, basically the scientific methodology, you should be able to use in solving other problems in life. So in this context, I thought IISER is a good opportunity to integrate research and undergraduate teaching in science. So that's one of the reasons why I came here. And the purpose is how effectively we can set up a system to integrate undergraduate teaching and research. That way I'm happy because most of our undergraduate students do research in the lab, they have published papers, and 75% of our outgoing students are taking up research as a career. So I'm very happy with the progress that has been achieved so far.
The biology laboratories in IISER have state-of-the-art equipment. You have been instrumental in setting up this facility. What does setting up a laboratory from scratch entail?
A lot of sweat, a lot of anxiety and restlessness. Setting up labs in India is not that easy, simply because our infrastructure in the country and also even in big cities like Pune is not very conducive to do high-end work. Now that labs are being set up, the problem of electricity, problem of clean water, problem of variety of things we need to take into account. So it's a challenging task.
You have always been enthusiastic and supportive of social programs at IISER. Have you always been of a social bent of mind?
Maybe undergraduate students taught me to be socially aware. I always wanted to be a good citizen. Beyond that, I don't think I was really involved in any social service personally. But I think having come to IISER, having seen a large number of undergraduate students also showing similar interest, taking initiative, I thought maybe just helping them do what they want to do will fulfill some of my own personal satisfaction. So that's how I'm involved.
We have heard rumors that you're interested in classical music. What are your other interests outside science?
Well, you already mentioned classical music. That's my main interest. When I was in Hyderabad before coming to Pune, I almost attended every major Hindustani classical music concert. My other interest is, of course, literature, both Indian language literature as well as English literature. Right from my school days, I used to read Kannada literature, and subsequently the translation from different languages, particularly from Bengali and Marathi. Slowly I started reading English literature and hooked on to literature.
Who are your favorite authors then?
Okay, in Kannada, my favorite author is Shivaram Karanth, who died a few years ago. He is a Gyanpith Awardee. He is a novelist. Amongst the poets in Kannada, again, there are two poets in fact. One is D.R. Bendre, another is K.V. Puttappa. Both of them again are Gyanpith Awardees. These are the three literary figures in Kannada who really influenced me a lot. In Bengal, of course, my favorite is Sharat Chandra and Bimal Mitra. There's another one who is actually not so famous even amongst the Bengalis. He is one Tarashankar Bandyopadhyay. Then in English, of course, the author of Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle. I read Sherlock Holmes again and again. I also read Charles Dickens and O. Henry and others. But O. Henry is my favorite.
What would your message be for the scientific community and students who wish to pursue science?
As far as scientific community, I think they need to understand the system, because doing modern science, because it's new, because we don't have a large scientific community, infrastructure is not that good. And also we have this Indian bureaucracy developed and left behind by British, which is not very conducive to do science. But in spite of all these things, it's better for our own purpose, for the sake of future, to do good science. That's the sort of request rather than a message I have for the scientific community. For the students, I think they just should enjoy the science. Science is so much exciting, whether it is biology or physics, chemistry, the science is always exciting. And understanding the process of scientific discovery is what I urge our students should know. Because understanding the process of scientific discovery means you start thinking logically, you synthesizing ideas, you analyzing the data. This ability will help you to solve any problems anywhere in life or in any other job. For example, if you take up an administrative job or financial management job, you can use scientific methods to solve problems.
Thank you, Professor Shashidhara, for giving us your valuable time.
Thank you very much.
We hope to chat with you on Science Radio again.
We will be back next week with another episode of Science Radio. We would love to hear from you. Do write to us. Our email ID is Radio IISER Pune. Radio IISER Pune @gmail.com. This is your host, Saurajit Basu, signing off.